Soul Wanderings. Today we are doing the first video inside of my rig. Yay! And we're going to be in the kitchen today, specifically playing with one of my new kitchen gadgets, which is the Instapot. And so what is the Instapot? I don't really quite know, so we're going to be learning together. So this is the box that it came with, and one of the great things about this, it is a multifunctional gadget. Mainly, how I cook now in the house is through a slow cooker. So this gadget can be a slow cooker. It also can be a rice cooker. You can also steam vegetables. You can warm food up. You can do pressure cooking, which is really what we're going to be looking at today, which is super exciting. You can make yogurt with it, and you can also saute food. So lots of different functionality in one particular unit, which when you're living in a rig is really helpful in reducing space. I have never pressure cooked before today, so we are going to be learning how to do this together. What we're going to look at in this video is getting it set up. Okay, so I have washed this by hand in hot soapy water, and now I'm going to assemble the pieces. And there are a couple core things that we want to look at. First of all, we have the pot and we have the lid. On the underside of the lid, one of the things that's really important is this anti-block shield. And so before you do any cooking, it's important that you take it off and make sure that there's no food clogged in this area. And then you'll put the little anti-block thingy-majingy on, and that will make sure that there's no food in here. You also want to make sure that this little thingy slides in and out. So when it gets pressurized and depressurized, this is actually going to pop up and down on the top of the lid. Another component on the lid is this valve here, where you seal it when you want to get high pressure, and you move it over and you vent it, and the steam will come out and release it. So this is another really important aspect of the lid. So I'm going to set the lid to the side and show you the actual base of the unit. Some of the items that came with this are some spatula thingy-majingies, so I'll just set those aside. Of course, the power cord. Some plastic moobajubis, and a thingy-majingy that goes inside of the pot for steaming vegetables, so you can place food matter on this and it won't sit in the actual liquid that you're using in the container. So we'll look at that later. What I want to go over right now is this seal. So this seal is really important. This seal is what goes in the lid, and that's what tightens the seal so that you can get the high pressure in the container. I've washed this, and you'll notice in here you have an inner ring on the lid, and there's no wrong way direction to insert this. You just want to make sure that the whole thing goes in. So I'm sliding the lip of the plastic seal underneath the inner metal ring, and I'm going to go all the way around and make sure that the whole thing goes in, and ta-da-ta-ta, and just kind of finger it all the way around. And now we have a sealed plastic ring on the inside. We have a clear anti-block screen, and we have our lid that is now ready. Another aspect of getting the Instapot ready for action is to install this condensation catcher. And so on the back side of the application, there's a little place where you can just slide that rig in and it will catch the condensation. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug this in. It comes in with a cord, and I'm going to go ahead and make sure that it is securely pressed in, so that way if you move the pot when it's cooking, you don't want this to come undone and mess up your timings. And in my rig, I have my electrical socket right here, so that pretty much determines where I'll be using this particular item. And you'll notice I have a bright LED shining display here, and you'll notice that there are a lot of different options: soup, meat and stew, beans and chili, poultry, rice, multigrain, porridge, and steam. And so we're actually going to be using the steam function for this water test that we're going to do to make sure that the whole thing is working well and that I know what I'm doing. Here we go. So in the instruction manuals, now typically I don't read instruction manuals, but however, since I've got an RV, I do read a bit more manuals. And this is a high pressure instrument, so if you don't use it correctly, there is the possibility to scald your face or your hands or burn something or explode something. So it is good to look at the manuals every now and then. And so it recommends doing an initial test run. And so that's what we're going to do right now. So my rig is still winterized. We live in Denver and we're actually going to be getting a snowstorm tonight. So I brought some water in from the house and I'm going to go ahead and pour this water into, so this Instapot has, this is the heating mechanism. And then there's this inner bowl, and this is what you take out and wash by hand in hot soapy water. And in the bowl, you'll notice that there are numbers inside so that you can know how filled up your container is. They recommend not filling the container more than 2/3 of the way full, because if it gets too full, the food will get jammed in these sensors and that will mess up your steaming apparatus. And so I'm going to go ahead and pour some water in this bowl. It's said to fill it up to the number 3. That seems like a lot of water, but I'm going to fill it up to have a little bit more water here. We'll go ahead and go there. Maybe it's the 3 on the cup side rather than the 3 on the max side. That's what I'm going to buy into for this experiment. All right, so I have put water into the bucket, and now I'm going to seal the lid. So on the lid, there is some markings that say close and open, and on the actual container, there are some markings too. So if you line things up, did you hear that? Reminds me of Atari and playing games. Now another thing when you're utilizing the Instapot that I'm going to need to remember as well, only touch the plastic portions. Do not touch the metal or the metal. These will be super duper hot. So when moving, just train yourself to just touch the black parts. So now that the lid is locked into place, you heard it make its little noise. You want to make sure that this locking mechanism is closed, pushed all the way to the back so that the steam will stay inside. Once this gets to pressure, that little thingy-majobby will pop up and it will let you know that it is pressurized. And so we're going to come down here to the display manual, and the instructions say to hit steam. So I'm going to hit steam, and I'm going to use the minus button, there's pluses and minuses, to traverse down to 2 minutes, and then I am going to press a button to make it do something. And so it did beep. We turned it off so I could look at the instructions, and while we were doing that, it beeped a couple times and it says on. So now that it says on, the unit is warming up, and when it gets to the appropriate temperature, this is going to turn to 2, and it will start a countdown on the timer for 2 minutes. So we've been sitting here for about 5 minutes chit-chatting. It still does say, I'm going to touch the plastic, it still does say on, but we do have some steam starting to come out of here. So I imagine soon this is going to pop up and this is going to change to 2. So let's see. Oh. And so the steam has stopped and that's come up. And so I'm imagining that very soon this is going to turn to 2. And voila, it has gone to 2. So one of the things I want to point out is you'll notice that there is no steam coming out from around the edge. that means I've done a good job with that sealing ring on the inside. Once it goes down this 2-minute countdown, it's gonna beep, and then I'll show you the quick release method to release the high pressure steam. So la 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 la. All right, so now this signals the beeping, and this low means it's going down to low heat. The pressurization, that 2 minutes timing is done. And so now what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to do the quick release. There are 2 ways to release the high pressure steam inside of the unit. One is a quick release where I'm going to turn this tab up top, and I'll show you that in a moment. And the other one is a natural release where once that cooking time frame is done, in about 10 or 15 minutes, it will naturally release the steam on its own. But I'm going to show you the quick release method because this should be pretty fun. So on the back of the unit, as we talked about earlier, there is this switch, and I have it closed to hold all of the pressure in. I'm going to be very careful, once again, just touching plastic, keeping your face away from this heating area, and it might splatter water as well. And you just, yeah! Rave party, woo! And that will take a couple of minutes to do. I have my window open in the rig, and I have my vent fan open as well to kind of help minimize some of the steam. So we'll give this a couple minutes to do its thing, and then we'll talk a little bit more after that. So it is still releasing heat. As you'll notice here on this front dashboard, it's on low heat, which is keeping the contents warm, and it has finished cooking 2 minutes ago. And this will just keep counting. So if you're doing something outside, talking to the cute guys at the next campsite next to you, you can come back in and see that it's been keeping your food warm for 10 or 15 minutes. So pretty soon, once this steam has completely been released, this little silver button will drop down, and that will be the indication that the steam has been released and it will be okay to take the lid off. And so you'll notice down here, this little silver button has dropped down. That lets me know that it is now depressurized enough for me to take the lid off. And so that is what I'm gonna do. So I'm going to take the lid off, and because there might be some steam, it's nice when you open it to open the lid away from you so that nothing splatters and that you don't get steam or anything splashed on you. So here we go. Hear that? Open it up away from me, steams. And there are little hooks on the side of the cover where you can just set the lid and set it up, since counter space is limited, especially inside of an RV. And so the whole purpose of this water test is for me as a beginner, and for those of you that might be interested in the Instapot, to learn the mechanisms of this tool so that you can actually start cooking your recipes and feel safe with using a high pressure cooker. So I hope this was a fun video for you. This is my new Instapot. Stay tuned for some fun recipes handcrafted by me, Raven with Wild Soul Wanderings.